Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial in which we will talk about what you can do if you did not match into residency. Hopefully you don't need this video, but if you do, it's going to provide you with all the details you need to know to ace the next match cycle. Before we get started, make sure to check out the description of this video in which I will provide you the link to get access to our amazing match resources from personal statement samples, ERAS application sample, interview questions, over 200 of them, and sample answers to these questions, and you can get these fully for free by signing up through the link I will leave in the description below. When it comes to giving advice on what to do if you don't match or how you can ace the next cycle, is analyzing what the problem was. Why did you not match? It's like seeing a patient with chest pain. You need to understand the history of this patient, you need to do a physical exam, get some labs, imaging, so you really understand the reason behind the chest pain so you can give the appropriate treatment and plan. And the same applies to the match. You need to see what the problem was that prevented you from matching so you can work specifically on these weak points or red flags. And things to talk about or things to think about when it comes to analyzing that is scores, research, personal statement, CV, US clinical experiences, other experiences, your match strategy, letter of recommendation, year of graduation, and the visa. And I'm gonna go now into the details of each of these and give you advice if you had a problem in any of these stuff here. And let's start with scores. Let's say you had an attempt on your step 1 or you scored low on your step 2. What can you do? So I always say there are modifiable factors when it comes to your application and there are non-modifiable factors, and scores is one of these non-modifiable factors. Your age, non-modifiable, you cannot do anything about that. So when we discuss step scores, we need to kind of overlook them and move on to the next step. So if you failed step 1, there is nothing you can do about that other than try to get an amazing score on step 2. If you had an attempt on step 2, try to score amazing when you pass it. When it comes to having a low score on step 2, maybe doing step 3 can help. And one point when it comes to step 3 specifically, and I've seen that in multiple students, they try to improve their chances of matching by doing step 3 and they end up failing this exam because they underestimate how difficult it is. It's a 2-day exam, it's very stressful. So if you're not very well prepared, I don't recommend you go and do a step 3 exam. Why? Because you might score lower than your step 2 CK score and now it's hurting you, or you might fail it and that's not good at all. So that's why when it comes to step 3, make sure if you want to improve your chances of matching or you're doing it because of a low step 2 CK score, make sure you're actually scoring decent enough or you're not failing the exam by doing assessment exams or the MBMEs. Resources when it comes to studying step 3, I highly recommend UWorld. I think it's a very good question bank and I think it's more than enough. You don't need so many resources. We have a course at the Match Guide dedicated to the CCS section of the step 3 exam, which is usually the challenging part of the step 3 exam because it's unique and you've never been exposed to CCS cases. So I highly recommend you check this out. It's going to save you a lot of time. And we also have a biostatistics course because I know many students struggle with the biostat on the USMLE exams, and that's why we made a very quick overview of biostatistics. It's very affordable, and if you don't like these courses after you sign up, no problem, we'll give you your money back. But a lot of students found extreme value in them, especially that it saves you a lot of time with the limited time you have when it comes to applying. Timing around the step 3 exam, if you want to take it, you need to make sure if you are using it to improve your chances of matching, you need to make sure that you have your results before you apply. If you're doing it just for a visa purpose, because if you get the step 3, you'll be eligible for H1B visa if the program offers it. So make sure you do it before March or April after the match so you can get that visa. So these are things to keep in mind when it comes to score. Again, if you had an attempt or a low step score, the only thing to do is either try to improve the score after an attempt or on the next exam, or work on the other aspects of the application that we will go over next. Research, another very important part of your application. It's getting more and more important, especially in competitive specialties, but it's also getting more value in internal medicine, family medicine, and it can help you match at a higher tier program if you have that research experience. So what is the reason research is important? Multifold. First, it is a nice thing on your CV. It adds an experience, it adds the ability to read research articles, and people value that. So just the fact that you're doing research helps on your ERAS application. Also add publications. So if you got publications out of that, that's also a plus sign on your ERAS application. The most important part when it comes to doing research, especially spending time in the US, is the connections. The connections you build with people who might help you get a rotation, who might help you with an LOR, with a phone call, reaching out to colleagues is very, very valuable. So that is where the value of research comes from. from all these aspects I talked about. And some might ask, how can I get a research position? This is a very lengthy discussion, and that's why we made a full workshop dedicated to teaching you how to find research mentors, what is a good research mentor, how to find the institutions, the research email, the research CV, how to interview for these positions, and what are factors to consider when picking a research position. And I'll leave the link to sign up for this workshop in the description of this video, so make sure you sign up as soon as you can so you can start learning about that and apply for these research positions and come to the US, usually on a J1 research visa. So when it comes to research positions, you might be paid or unpaid. If you have extensive research experience, you might have a shot in getting a paid position, but if you don't have an extensive research experience, you will likely be unpaid. A lot of research scholars, they start unpaid and then they transition to paid if they show they're amazing. And picking the right mentor is key when it comes to doing research, because it can make the difference between you matching and not matching. That's why I want to highlight that very, very much. So spend time in finding the mentor that will help you match into residency, and we talk about the characteristics of that mentor in the how to find research positions workshop. Another thing is your personal statement and ERAS application. So when you apply to residency, there are so many factors that program directors decide on interviewing you or not, and one of them is personal statement and your ERAS application. And you have to understand that your personal statement is your story, and if you don't sell yourself well, program director won't know what amazing things you've done if you did not describe it well in your personal statement and ERAS application. And that's why I highly recommend you start early. You start brainstorming about the ideas you want to talk about in your personal statement, in your ERAS application. Draft it very carefully. We have amazing resources that can help you with that. We have personal statement samples that can show you how a good and great personal statement looks like. We have ERAS application samples that can also show you how a great ERAS application looks like with different experiences, impactful experiences, publications, all that available fully for free. And you can sign up to get that delivered to your inbox by signing up in the link that I will leave in the description below. And I also have amazing tutorials, especially on how to fill the ERAS application on my YouTube channel. So if you search ERAS 2025 Malki Assad, you'll be able to find that very easily. And I highly recommend you start thinking about these things even, months ahead of your application, so when the time comes, you're not struggling and rushing. And get help. I highly recommend you get someone who's experienced, who have looked at so many applications, because you're gonna be sending one ERAS application to so many programs. So it's highly recommended that you're presenting the best version of yourself, the best version of these stories and experiences that you have to program directors and people reviewing your application. So why waste this opportunity by having a subpar personal statement and CV? So I highly recommend you get help at the Match Guy. We have phenomenal team who is ready to help you with that. They're amazing physician advisors. We have actual residents and fellows who review your personal statement and CVs and make major changes to them. We don't just change few words and just give it back to you. We actually make a good amount of changes to help reflect your story and make it the best version that it could be. And we trust our work so much that we make this service 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you get the personal statement back and you don't like it, you can ask us for your money back. We're gonna refund you. And we have very, very few people who ask for that, because they get phenomenal service, phenomenal work, and that definitely helps them improve their chances of matching into residency. You have to understand, it not if you have a phenomenal personal statement, you're going to match into residency. It's an important factor of your application, but it's not the only factor. So you have to work also on the other parts I'm discussing in this video. But this is one of these modifiable factors I'm telling you about, because I said there are non-modifiable factors like your age or your step scores, but this is one of the easily modifiable factors that you can change. So I highly recommend you get help and make your personal statement and CV the best version it can be. And we have also packages that combine multiple services together, and you can check all these out by checking the links that I'll leave in the description below, and they're under the match application packages. And if you need help from our customer support team who can explain the different services that we have, don't hesitate to schedule a free consultation with them and they can tell you all about that. Now let's move on to US clinical experiences. Very, very important. And when it comes to USCEs, I actually have multiple videos about that, and I'll leave the links for these in the description below. But when it comes to USCEs, you have to understand the differences between the different types of rotations. electives is usually offered for medical students. So if you graduated from medical school already, you're likely not eligible for electives. Observerships, on the other hand, they're offered to everyone. So you could be a student, you could be a graduate. How to find one? I explained that in detail in my video on how to find USCEs. But briefly here, you can either email people, so email different physicians who might be offering these type of rotations, or looking for institutions. So sometimes institutions offer observerships. Electives, generally they're offered solely by institutions. So it's very hard for a physician to offer you an elective. It usually has to go through the medical school. So it's a formal application. You have to apply way ahead. And finally, companies. Sometimes companies offer US clinical experiences by their collaboration with different physicians. At the Match Guy, we offer a few rotations. So make sure to check the different options we have in the link that I'll leave in the description below. The cost varies a lot based on the rotation. Even in our company, some rotations are $500-600, and some of them go up to $3,000 because it depends on the physicians and their charges. So keep an eye on that because I'm sure that's an important factor for you. So cost depends on the location, on the physician, what type of rotation it is, and there is definitely variety between different institutions and different hospitals and different companies. So something to keep in mind, but they're usually not cheap, unfortunately, because of the physician cost. Because physician time in the US, as you know, is very expensive. So for them to spend time to teach you reflects in high cost of USCEs. What is a good rotation? So I also talk about that in my video, but briefly here, inpatient versus outpatient. A lot of people focus so much on inpatient that they think outpatient is not good. I disagree with that. I think a rotation that has a combination of both is probably the best version because this is what residency is. Residency is a combination of inpatient and outpatient. You spend some time in clinic, you spend some time in the hospital. So a combination of both I think would be very helpful. Definitely a hands-on rotation where you can take history, do physical exam, get access to the medical records is better than one where you're just watching. But there is still some value in observerships if you could not secure the hands-on rotations because you can still ask questions, because you can still learn from the experience. I know multiple applicants who matched actually in different programs after just doing an observership there. So don't think that observerships are bad or if you're not doing anything, there is no way for you to shine. I think sometimes the opposite happens when you're doing a very heavy hands-on and you're not meeting the standards of US students because, US students have been in the system for a long time. They know what to do and what not to do, and you're new here. Sometimes that can backfire on you and people don't think you're good or good enough if you're doing the hands-on rotation. So just be prepared and be very well prepared. And I have a video that I'm going to release in a few weeks on how to be ready for rotations so you get good letters of recommendation from that. And that brings us to the next point, which is LORs. LORs are very valuable when they come from rotations because they testify to your clinical skills. So even though sometimes, again, if you're not doing hands-on, you can still reason, you can still ask questions, you can still give treatment options, have insightful discussions about the treatment and plan, especially in medical specialties. It's still very valuable and people can write you good LORs from that. Doing it in a residency program, definitely if you are in a place that has a residency program, it's valuable because now you might have a shot of matching at that program. And if the place is IMG friendly, that's even better because they might take you there. Now let's talk about the experiences. The experiences section of your ERS application is very important because that's what you've done over the last few years. And there is research experiences that we talked about, clinical experiences that we just discussed in the slide before, work experiences. Like if you've done work outside medicine or inside medicine in which you got paid, let's say you worked in a startup or in finance, that adds a set of skills that others might not have. Volunteering is important, tutoring, being part of organizations or volunteering in certain professional societies, that's also very important. But I see so many people focus so much on these and they ignore other parts of the application, and these are not as important. Like having a volunteer experience, 1 or 2 is more than enough. You don't need to have like 20 volunteering experiences. You don't need to spend like 5 years volunteering. So having some volunteering experience, some tutoring experience gives like variety to your application, but don't get so focused on like spending so much time volunteering and ignoring your step scores or your rotations. Now let's talk about strategy, because that might be one of the most important reasons why people do not match, because they had an incorrect or not ideal match strategy. So what is an ideal match strategy? Let's start with the number of programs you applied to. And unfortunately, there is no magic number. I wish you can just put these, data that you have in an algorithm and it just pops out a number of programs you should apply to. There is no magic number. If somebody has lower step scores or an attempt, they definitely need to apply to more programs than an average applicant. If you have a big gap since your graduation from medical school, you also have to apply to a higher number of programs. Where can you get an idea about the average number of programs that applicants apply to? You can go to the NRMP website, and I'll leave a link for that in the description below, and put the specialty that you're interested in, and it gives you the average number of programs that USMDs or US seniors or IMGs apply to and match. That doesn't mean if you apply to the same number you will match. That is the average. So if you have a stronger application, you might consider applying to lower programs. If you have a not as strong application, you might apply to more programs. Also, cost is very important here. How much can you afford? Some people might say, I don't care, I want to just spend as much as I can so I can match into a residency program. Some people don't have that much money, because the more programs you apply to, the more expensive it becomes. And I also have a program that shows you these graphs so you can understand more what they mean, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below. Signaling, very important, because signaling improve your chances of matching at that program significantly, but you only have a few number of signals in each specialty, so you have to pick these signals very wisely, because if you're someone with an attempt and you signal a program that does not accept people with attempts, you wasted that important signal. So you need to look and research these programs very well to see if their criteria fits what you have. Geographic preference is another important, and I left a graph here from Intel that shows you the number of J1 sponsored applicants or residents from Intel. So this gives you an idea of which states had the highest number of mostly IMGs sponsored by the J1 program. And you can see here New York, Michigan, Texas, and Pennsylvania are the highest. So if you're unsure where to apply and you don't have certain connections, you might consider applying to the areas that include these states. Which programs did you apply to? Are you, a very competitive applicant applying to Ivy League programs, or you're, an average applicant that you should apply to programs that fit your criteria? The number of IMGs in the program, type of residence they have, and are they similar to what you have on your application? So these are very important factors, and if you want to talk to an advisor who's experienced with the process that can help you with building this strategy, go ahead and schedule a consultation. The link that I'll leave in the description below. But this is, a very important factor when it comes to applying and thinking about the match, is having a good comprehensive strategy, and it takes time. Because as you can see, you need to do a lot of research on these programs, and we have the Residency Program Navigator that can help you get an idea about these programs and their criteria and factors, and you can get access to that by checking the link in the description below. It will be called Residency Program Navigator. LORs, another very important factor when it comes to matching, and I have a detailed video about that. As you can see, I have almost a video about everything, but I want to put all this together in one video so you have it as a good summary of all these factors. Who is writing your LORs? Is it somebody in the US, outside the US, somebody important, somebody who just graduated out of residency? When was this experience or interaction? 5 years ago, where they forgot almost everything about you, or recent? How long have you worked with them? Where was that? Was it in the US, outside the US, academic institution, private practice? Why are they writing you the LOR? Is it because they met you for one time, or because you worked with them for 2 years? Research, clinical? Is it in the same specialty? Is it outside specialty? All these factors also play a big role in you matching into residency. And the LOR, I'm gonna maybe bundle the connections with that, because if you have good connections, that's also a very, very important factor when it comes to you matching. So if you don't have connections, try to work on these connections and networking. And I have another video about networking to improve your chances of matching into residency, but you can go to conferences, reach out to people from your institution, or connect with physicians who graduated from your medical school, or they did the same residency as you back in your home country, or they're friends of friends. So try to expand your network, because these come very handy when it comes to offering interviews. LORs and connections, your mentors can reach out to people. Conferences, as I said, there are multiple ways to build these networks and connections with people that can help you when it comes to applying to residency. Year of graduation, another important factor for those who graduated a long time ago, and that could be a big filter, because some programs don't interview applicants with a year of graduation of more than 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So building connections can help avoid that, because if you got filtered out and you have a connection, they might still pull your application out of the filtered applicants and look at it, because you might be amazing applicant, it's just you have you're getting filtered out. Something to consider, that you don't have to do it, but something to consider, I've seen very actually few people do that, is they repeat medical school. Because if you graduated from residency around 20 years ago, that might be a real challenge for you matching into residency. I've seen few people do that, but it might be a big challenge. So I've seen some people go and repeat medical school in certain places that don't have you repeat the whole thing. You repeat 1 or 2 years, and in that case, now your year of graduation is kind of updated. Now you graduated a year ago, because the way they calculate it is the most recent medical school. So that's something to consider if you run out of options. Visa can be a big limitation. There are a lot of people who match on J1 or H1, but maybe you can be eligible for another type of visa or a green card, because that will make your chances of matching improve. So if there is a way to get that through research or through marriage, or, I'm not a lawyer, I can't give a legal advice on immigration, but something to consider if you're close to getting something, that a green card or a citizenship, that will help probably in your chances of matching. I hope this video is helpful in giving you options to think about when it comes to improving your application for the next cycle. I know it's very unfortunate if you did not match, but trust me, I've seen people who did not match in the first cycle and went to match in amazing places. Not just match, they match at phenomenal places, and now they're in amazing fellowships because they thought about what was wrong and they improved on these things in the next application. If you stay the same, nothing is gonna happen. But if you work on these parts that were weak points or a problem, your chance of matching will increase. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's just luck. You got unlucky and you did not match because of the way the algorithm works. So if you work on certain parts of your application, apply next year, hopefully it works out. So we at The Match Guy are dedicated to helping medical students from inside and outside the US achieve their dream of matching into residency. So if you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out. You can schedule a free consultation here on our website, thematchguy.com. And our team can guide you through the different things we can offer you, from editing to interview preparation to advising, USMLE tutoring, rotations. We're always at your service. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you find any value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell sign and click all so you get notified whenever I post future videos on my YouTube channel. Now you can go and watch my video on how to find US clinical experiences, and you can watch that by clicking on the video that will appear on the screen. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in, and good luck on your match. Peace.